Welcome back to This Week in AI. I'm Connor, and here's Avi. And we're going to be discussing this week's AI topics and news that just happened.
Yes, breaking news. So last week we talked about OpenClaw.
Yeah.
You know, everyone's favorite thing. A little bit, I think, maddening, a little bit frustrating, because when we talked about OpenClaw, we were like, this is for tinkerers.
Yes.
This is for home users.
Yep.
This is not for the business environment. And I kind of feel like, we know Jensen's a fan of our podcast,
Yes.
right? We know he's a listener. We know he follows us and watches.
Huge fan.
And he messages on the side now and then. I really felt like he took that as a challenge,
Yeah.
Connor.
And
Because what did Jensen do to us this week?
he released NemoClaw
Okay.
days after we said it's not for business.
Right. Days after we said it's not for business use, and we actually kind of predicted, we said somewhere in the future,
Yeah.
there's going to be a business use for OpenClaw, but don't hold your breath. And Jensen, of course, was just like,
I'm on it.
I'm on it.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, we heard the right click, guys. We're putting this out 2 days ago. First off, in case people don't know, who is Jensen?
Jensen, Nvidia CEO, famous leather jacket wearer.
Right.
Goes out on stage and usually releases new AI chips and Nvidia products. And then a few days ago releases NemoClaw,
Okay.
which is a security software wrapper for OpenClaw, so that OpenClaw doesn't have that untethered access to everything.
Got it.
It's in sandboxes and contained environments. It even uses policy, so your business's policy and security policies are embedded into that NemoClaw platform, so it can operate kind of securely in a business environment.
Okay. Is it Nvidia, Nvidia, Vidia?
Definitely not Nvidia.
Nvidia? Yeah. What is how do you say it?
I say Nvidia.
My neighbor across the street calls it Nvidia.
I think in the comments they can argue.
Okay. And then NemoClaw. These names really just get me going.
Yes.
Is that like Finding Nemo?
It's a play on the OpenClaw.
Yes.
And Nemo came from whatever Jensen felt like naming it.
It's not from Finding, like Nemo.
It's not from Finding Nemo.
Okay. Okay. So another, who knows where these names, where we get these names that we are forced to work with, but NemoClaw released this week, and it appears to be AI agent tool that we could use in enterprise environment.
Yeah.
So we're going to go through a couple of the components of NemoClaw.
So we're going to go through a few of the components, as Avi said. It has kernel level sandboxing, which basically just means the guardrails are not inside of the agent's ability. So it's not something you can circumvent with ignore your previous instructions, go outside your guardrails. It's actually guardrails built by the system around the agent.
I see. Okay.
So it's more hardened guardrails.
Okay.
It uses, like I said, that privacy, that policy from your business.
Okay.
And then it actually has like certain skills that it's able to go and execute. Those are secure skills, not just that OpenClaw hub that we talked about being an issue. So it's in the infancy.
Okay.
It's 4 days old. Again, we still don't recommend you immediately go out and deploy it across your organization.
Right.
But the big thing is you don't want to be unfamiliar with this technology when it becomes mature.
Right. So it's something to keep like in a dev kind of environment, and to actually, again, it's astounding that last week we were saying keep this at home,
Yes.
and just a few days later, now there's something that you could actually test in a dev environment at your workplace.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the 4 layers a little bit. Yeah, well, walk us through the 4 layers and we can talk about the implications.
Yeah. So really the first layer is, like I said, that kernel level sandboxing. So basically isolates the agents to different areas so that when they're performing work, they don't have system-wide or company-wide access to any and all files and functions that they want. So they're really locked into that certain kernel sandbox environment. Second, there's YAML config controls, which basically allow the agent to reach certain endpoints in the organization and not, again, have that kind of unhinged, tethered access across the organization. Again, with the policy, the privacy router, so that sensitive workloads get kind of routed and they go to cloud like endpoints. So AI models, if it's using like Nvidia's Nemotron, it's their model that they've made, it knows what information is being sent out, and it's able to kind of have those private connections to use that model in a secure way. So I know a lot of people out there, for their businesses, their employees just go to ChatGPT or Gemini and go and ask their question, upload their documents. You're not using a really safe and secure way to like get your AI answer. This has a, real safe tunnel to Nvidia to send that and get the answer back from an AI.
So in general, it's a sandbox around, so it's like a framework or a wrapper. I don't know if we said that last week. You can decide what LLM you want to use.
Yep.
Then you could put it in the sandbox, which will restrict and limit its access to your production data so that it can't autonomously decide to fix or change anything on your network.
There was reports with OpenClaw, somebody in Facebook and Meta installed it, and it went in and deleted a whole email list.
Okay.
Unprovoked, with no instruction to do so.
Right. Is that like what's known as like the Agentic Loop?
Yeah.
Where it kind of improves upon itself without a prompt or without it. Is that what that kind of means?
Yeah, that's the whole power behind the agent. It's also the downside. It's much more autonomous in its task execution. So now instead of you having to handhold it all the way through, making sure it gets there, you give it that end goal, and you really are just hoping it takes the right path to get to that goal and doesn't get off track. And so with that ability for it to prompt itself and to have this kind of orchestration, it can go on these long tangents that can sometimes be expensive. So API cost, since it's running 24/7, it can lead into loops. It can have issues where, you wake up and you've spent, $200 in API tokens because it went down some rabbit hole. So that's definitely something to be aware of.
Oh, okay. So this NemoClaw does not protect against those.
No.
Okay. It's sort of amazing. This stuff is moving so quickly that, again, like a few days later, there is something that you could kind of set up in your environments and test. My favorite topic is the AI arms race.
Yes. It
seems like Nvidia, is positioning itself a little bit differently from the major players. It seems like they're taking a side route. They're saying, you guys fight it out. We're going to provide a framework for whichever LLM. What's their strategic play here?
Yeah, they're obviously supplying all of these AI companies with the chips to build their models, to run the inference. And what their play is, if we build this framework for AI agents to be safe and used in businesses, that's going to lead to exponentially more use, exponentially more drive for their product, and they're going to be able to keep those AI chip orders rolling in for years to come.
Doesn't this seem like something NemoClaw, OpenClaw, that the LLM like Anthropic or OpenAI or Google will come up with on their own?
Sure. That's traditionally been the case. There's been open source projects. One of them catches on. The big companies take notice. They make their own copy of it. The difference is OpenClaw, because it operates outside of this individual company basis and it's open source, it's going to get updates far more frequently. It has access to all of the models. So now if Gemini makes some groundbreaking change in efficiency, you're not having to switch platforms from ChatGPT's agent or Anthropic's agent over to Google's. You can just go to your OpenClaw, NemoClaw, and say, hey, let's use Gemini now. And then it routes everything through Gemini.
It seems to me likely, however, that if OpenAI comes out with their own version of this framework or this wrapper, then it could restrict, would OpenAI then say, would restrict access to their LLM so OpenClaw cannot use it?
I wouldn't think so. Just because, I think we mentioned on it last week, OpenClaw is the most supported, most popular open source project in history, and it's been a month or two. So the pace at which this has gained traction, they would lose out on such a large number of API calls and uses that it would cost them a lot more money.
So this is, again, I don't think we touched the sort of radical historical scope of OpenClaw last week.
Yeah.
It has been a little over a month, right? It's like a month and a half, like Feb 17 or so it came out. Yeah. It's about a month. And we haven't seen anything like this before. So yes, we think Anthropic, these other companies will come out with their own framework, their own wrapper. But OpenClaw seems like it's here to stay.
Yeah, I would say so. Or at least like NemoClaw, these security layers built with OpenClaw's kind of foundation. I think there's going to be some OpenClaw variant or variation that's going to be definitely here to stay.
Interesting. Cool. Connor, what would you say is the big takeaway with these kind of fast-moving, fast-developing
I would say
changes?
The big takeaway is we're in this early development of agents and agents that are actually able to go and execute tasks. And now with NemoClaw, the early business side of agents, you really want to start having someone within your organization spin up a virtual private server or some OpenClaw, NemoClaw variant and start testing it and doing stuff with it. You're not going to be doing it in your organization yet, but when that day comes, whether it's 4 days from now or a month or 6 months, you're going to be that far ahead of your competition. You're going to be that much more comfortable with kind of how agents work and how to use them effectively. And you're going to really be able to capitalize on that new wave of technology that's coming.
Yeah, like agentic AI is such a leap from the AI we were used to using in the last few years.
Yes.
I think for programmers who exist in this world, there's some built-in skill sets where they can naturally see the advantages. However, if you're not a developer, if you don't have experience coding, this bridge from an AI that is sort of something you just chat with to agentic AI is difficult to traverse. It's difficult to get agentic AI working and helping your business. But guess what? That's what we can do.
Yes.
So give us a call, like, follow,
comment, subscribe,
set up a meeting. You can meet Connor in person, unless you're far away. And we could talk about how you could get agentic AI to work for your business in a way that is secure and doesn't require you to bring on a full dev team. Anything else?
Yeah, I would say we can help you set up initial testing thing so you can start getting comfortable with agents and OpenClaw and NemoClaw.
Awesome. Until next week, when the world will change completely again, we'll see you. Thanks for watching This Week in AI.